Hi everyone, I wanted to share a bit today about some work that I really like doing, which is the parenting work. Working with horses can be really great for working on our own regulation and parenting skills. And we all hear that with TBRI, if anyone is following the connected parenting principles or working on following more people who are trauma parenting experts, we hear that these tools that we come to parenting with, their traditional parenting tools, don't work for kids who have experienced trauma or kids from hard places. And parenting kids from hard places is really hard. And these tools that we come to parenting with, I wanted to explain a little bit about some of them and why they don't work, and a little bit about how we can get some new tools and work on our parenting with the horses and get some regulation and get some traction with our kids. So the parenting toolbox I have is represent little pictures that represent different parenting tools that we might have, parenting tools that you've tried that don't work, that you seem to try everything and nothing works with your child. I want to share a little bit about some of these tools. So I have the air horn, and that represents yelling. Or when we're trying to get our child to do something and they're not listening and we just start yelling, and how that often makes things worse or doesn't get the result that we want. I have the tools. We learn tools from people. We see things on the internet. We have therapists, well-intentioned people come into our lives and set up reward charts, set up different things in our home that the kids don't care about earning, that they do earn the prizes and they go back immediately to what they were doing before. That just the tools that we use with either neurotypical kids or kids who haven't experienced trauma, they might work with those kids, but with our kids, they don't care about earning it necessarily. So sometimes those things don't work. The hammer, that represents laying down the law, being very authoritarian and using, whether we don't intend to, but using fear to get a intended response from our child. And those things don't typically create lasting, they create a fear response, and it's, more practicing of what they don't need to be practicing, which is fear. They need to be practicing connected responses to us. I have the scissors, which could represent timeouts, go to your room, essentially isolation, which can create a pattern of, kids just go to their room and dissociate. They don't think about it. They just sit there and, learn to disconnect. And we want connected children, right? I have the rope, which could represent taking away things. And, our kids come to us with nothing sometimes, and they don't, we have all these toys and things that they don't seem to care about losing because that doesn't matter to them. And so it doesn't work sometimes. I have the sandpaper, which could represent when we try to lecture, wear our children down. We use lots of words that just are trying to sand them down and get them to do what we want. And sometimes children, can't access the thinking part of their brain with the words at all. And they can tune us out, and we can teach that unintendedly. Then I have the tape, which could represent just those quick fixes that we try to let's just give in. Let's get rid of this tantrum. Let's just be, more passive about it and not address the behavior. It's just quick fix this. And those things don't work either. They're not teaching our children the responses that we do want, the connected responses. And I wanted to explain a little bit about why these don't work. We hear that a lot, that, we need to, learn TBRI. We need to do the connected parenting. And sometimes we just slip back into these old tools when we don't feel like the connected parenting is getting us the results that we want either. And that could be because we're not working within the context of the brain and the window of tolerance, which I'll explain the window of tolerance with the TBRI engine wheel. For those of you who are familiar with TBRI, they do the blue, red, and green zone to explain kind of our body energy. And this also matches with the polyvagal theory as well, which explains how our brain can go from very low energy or shutdown to very high energy fight and flight when you're feeling unsafe. And then the green zone represents feeling safe and cooperating with us. So when they're feeling safe in the window of tolerance, they can cooperate with us. We can get the connected response that we want from our child, the cooperation. When they're feeling unsafe and into the red zone or the resistance, they will resist our request. They just feel unsafe with that, whether that be just that sensing of a loss of control that kept them safe so many years. A lot of these things are survival behaviors that worked for them in their earlier life, and they don't work within the context of connected relationships. So that's our job as parents, to teach them those tools. And then there could be the low energy response, or the ignoring, that when we take away the things, we send them to timeout, that they're just dissociating, they're shutting down, they're ignoring. And then sometimes we need to increase the way we're asking things, increase our pressure to get them to cooperate, and to get them back into the connected response. Some kids have a teeny tiny window of tolerance. The green zone's teeny tiny, that you say anything and they're resisting. You do anything and they're shut down. They're in the corner of the room with their hood up. So working on their trauma and working on regulation skills, which we do here with individual therapy at Wholehearted Herd Counseling, can increase that window of tolerance. And until then, the parenting approaches that we use with connected parenting is, if they're in a fight flight, if they're in a big, huge, raging meltdown, we got to co-regulate them. We got to get them back to the cooperation zone. And if they are in a freeze zone, we have to also co-regulate and get them back to the cooperation zone, and get them to cooperate with what we wanted to do through connection. So we use this a lot with the horses as well. That when we're working with the horses, and our goal is always connection even with the horses. We want to build a connected relationship. We don't want them to just listen to us because we told them to. And we don't especially want them to get into the red zone themselves. So we have to work it within the window of tolerance with the horse as well. So how this can work with parenting is that when you come out for your session, we're working on getting a connected response from your horse, and that sometimes we need to increase our energy and increase, if they're ignoring, to get them to understand what we're saying. And we do that gradually. So like when you're working, and that would apply with when you go back home to your house, is that when you've asked them to take out the trash or do their chore, their homework, and they're ignoring, they're just at the table, you gradually increase your pressure, so that way you're working within the window of tolerance, that you don't create a big resistance response, or you don't create a further shutdown response, that you're increasing your pressure, you're increasing your request very gradually, with connection, to get the desired cooperation from your child. So yeah, we do that work with the horses as well. We learn to increase our energy little bit by little bit, and that creates muscle memory in our bodies for when we get home and we ask our child to pick up their toys, and we've asked them once, and then all of a sudden we're just feeling that build in us, and all of a sudden we're just yelling. That we work on our own regulation, that we can, if that didn't work, we're gonna just go to the next level and go to the next level. And, for kids who really do have that tiny window of tolerance, and this is why kind of the parenting tools don't work, is that they are usually outside of the window of tolerance, that we are asking too much, and it feels unsafe for our children, and then they're immediately resisting. So yeah, that's kind of just how the process works with the parenting approach here with the equine working with horses, and it's really effective, I feel, for helping parents to learn to increase their pressure, or their, just what they're asking for their children, to get the whole brain response, the connected response, to help these tools that we are learning, the connected parenting tools, TBRI, that we can actually apply it, because in our bodies we can feel ourselves working through the the levels of response, for example, and that we're not immediately, inadvertently creating a fear response in our child, or a meltdown or a shutdown, that we can work on our own regulation and our own bodies for increasing pressure for our requests. I hope you try it, and if you have any questions or want to reach out for a session, feel free to get a hold of me. Bye.